Welcome back to The Edit by Engage Creative. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Amy.
We are so excited because we're going to do part 2 of your questions answered. I feel like it was a great episode that we had a couple of weeks ago. So we're going to dive into it a little bit more and answer some other questions that we didn't get around to last episode. And I still feel like are super valuable because we have these questions all the time come up in conversations in person or on our onboarding calls or just like general client calls.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you would know because you're doing a lot of those calls.
Yeah.
So when we were re-looking at all of these, it was, I think you were like, yep.
There's still some questions that we put out on our Instagram and I'm like, we still need to answer this. So I feel like this 2.0 is an excellent one because I think it will really resonate to some questions that other people have asked us.
So let's get into it. How often should I be posting? I feel like this is the same thing as like, how do I crack the algorithm?
Yeah. Look, there is so many things that come into play with how often you should be posting. If you have the content there, if it is engaging enough, if it is on brand, if it is valuable, correct. I like to post 5 days a week because I feel like it is a great amount to get your brand out there and, you know, it's consistent. However, if you feel that it is not on brand, it is not your kind of not putting out work that is...
You're doing it for the sake of it.
Correct. I would like to strip that back to like 3 times a week. And maybe it's you put out different stories or you do more like TikToks or you just kind of show up by interacting with your followers. Whatever it is, there's ways that you can still have a presence on social media without posting. And I always would caveat with saying, that's excellent that you want to post all the time. But is it content that is resonating with your ideal audience?
And sustainable, because if you're going to set a cadence and a rhythm for how often you want to post, you then have to be consistent with it. Because I do think as much as we're like, well, what's the algorithm going to prioritize? I've always heard and continue to hear that consistency is key.
Absolutely.
And to kind of expand on your thing, I think pick a platform rather than think you have to be on all of the platforms. I would rather start with do one consistently well and build up on that before necessarily adding another platform into the mix.
I would completely agree.
And I also believe back in the day with posting times and frequency was really important, but I think especially if you are, say, a hair and makeup artist, a celebrant, someone that you could leverage off you as being part of the brand, I would say 3 pieces of content that are camera facing, educational or like informative or kind of, you know, taking them along for a day in the life or whatever. 3 of those in a week are going to be much more valuable pieces of content than say 5 or 7 that are strictly your portfolio or images of your work without adding in those other elements, because people are connecting with people. I hate to say it because like I don't even like being in front of the camera, but if you want to scale and get visibility, that is how you're going to do it.
Could not agree more.
But it takes work and it takes effort. So it's about finding that balance. It's about quality over quantity, but if you're going to do less, you've got to do it strategically and do it with the content pillars or kind of like the strategy, the format and the strategy that, I mean, we know that works, but we're obviously communicating with you that we know will move the needle more than other pieces and styles of content.
Love it. Nailed it.
How good.
Why do some reels go viral and others flop?
I wish we knew the answer to this question because I would love to be able to repeat the viral reels that happen for our clients. That would be lovely.
It is just such a case of literally question mark, don't know what it is. We have experimented with using the TikTok font, using the Instagram preferred font. No fonts. Is it something that's trending? Do we put asking a question in the caption?
Is it 3 seconds? Is it 6 seconds?
There is so many things, and there's definitely things that we know trend and can be picked up faster on the algorithm. If there's a sound that's trending, if there is something that is trending at the moment, we will be the first ones to jump on it. But if we are producing a piece of content that is kind of organic, it's a massive question mark if we know it's going to perform well. There is no magic kind of answer to that.
I guess our approach as a team is we're not creating content assuming it's going to go viral.
Agreed.
We create content knowing all of the strategies and formats and things that work and putting them in place and layering them, like exactly like you said, the type of audio, the type of font, where the font's placed, you know, the length of the video, the edit of it, all that kind of stuff. Like we're layering all those decisions into creating that piece of content, but we're not assuming that it's going to go viral. And then if it does, that's great. And we'll have a little chat about it, but it's very hard to replicate. I know for one of our venue clients, I think that this is the greatest and funniest viral piece of content that they did. It was the meat raffle at the wedding reception. So this couple had a meat raffle as part of their wedding reception speeches. And I just think
I think it was a very Australian
It's very Australian. It's a bit of fun. I can imagine that, like, if I had seen that, I would probably share that to my friends. And I think that's an element of engagement that makes things expand out to new audiences. But it was just like a fun piece of content and it went nuts. And it was, again, you could probably say, yeah, it's a really niche kind of thing, but I'd never bank on it being, it could have also flopped. It could have also not resonated.
Yeah, but that was a very funny one, wasn't it?
And then obviously pieces of content that maybe have like a collaborator element, I tend to think can do quite well, but that might not necessarily be because of your account. That might be because of the collectiveness of creating it as a collaborator post. So that's something to always remember, is especially with your wedding vendors that are part of that wedding, leverage each other, collaborate on those posts.
Absolutely. Should I do in-person events or wedding fairs?
I mean, this is the year that we said more in-person things, and I still think that rings true, especially with AI and digital and all that kind of stuff. I think it's going to not force people, but people are going to crave interacting in person more. So I do think that participating in wedding fairs or speaking opportunities or networking opportunities where you can speak to either other vendors, especially if you're new, or couples, is still really important.
Valuable. I would agree. I think that there is a magic that can't be replicated without events. Like, I think that those casual conversations, the fun interacting, you know, I sat next to a really great, you know, like the bridal journey when I was in New York, and we just had like a really quick casual conversation before the runway show started. That was an event, and building those little relationships has led to something bigger that, you know, we're working on. So like just little things like that is kind of, you know, the like maybe pockets and injections that showing up in person you just can't replicate. It's your opportunity. Like, if you think about it and you are marketing, you're so dependent on a piece of content going out and having the other, like the audience or the viewer or the user or whatever, like participate back. I feel like you are so much more likely to be able to have a discussion or participate in some kind of like dialogue in person. You don't have that barrier of like a screen or that people can come back to that at their point of choosing. Like, you're in the moment. So how can you form a connection? How can you, you know, stand out personally with the way you speak, the way you interact, the way that you can form a connection with someone outside of simply a screen, an email, a post. How do I stop attracting clients who haggle or ghost me or take forever?
Don't you feel like you hear that all the time at the moment? I'm being ghosted. I'm being ghosted. Why won't people get back to me? I think there are a couple of factors.
Yep.
We've talked about this before, but the lead time.
Yep. I think there's
planning a wedding.
Information fatigue at the moment.
I think people get overwhelmed and they go, I'm putting this in the too hard basket. Yeah. Either because there's other things going on in their life that are taking priority, or just the need to make decisions and try and create the wedding that they want, which, caveat, I think people get too much in their mind about what I want my wedding to look like so I can post on socials versus what I actually want to experience on the day. And I think that also is a hang up for people in making decisions about styling or whatever. But I just think it's the nature of how things are happening at the moment that people are going to inquire, and it's much easier for them to just not reply than to turn around and say, like, you might not be the only wedding vendor that they've inquired with. Maybe they've inquired with 20.
Yeah.
And they don't have the time or the energy to email back to all 20 or 15 or whoever they haven't, to say your price is too high, or the easiest thing is to ghost. The easiest, which I don't like.
Personally, I never ghost people, so it irks me.
So you replied back to every single vendor that you inquired about for your wedding?
Yeah. Yeah.
You are.
I never ghost people, but that's
an anomaly.
Personally.
Fair.
I just don't love it, and so I can understand vendors' frustration when they do get ghosted, because I think that, it's frustrating. You put your heart and soul into things. You might take the personal approach of writing back, going really in depth about who they are and commenting about what their ideal day is, and then to be ghosted, it's awful. But I think that there's foundations that you can set up to prevent that as much as possible. But there is also an element that I think it's just society at the moment.
Can I actually just say, I almost feel like it's the way that dating culture has conditioned people.
Maybe it is.
So like on dating apps, right? Like you can start talking to people, but you can ghost people. And so people have been conditioned that it's like, oh, well, I don't have to, like, I don't have any consequences if I don't reply back to this person.
Totally.
So maybe that's just like a weird, for all the couples that have met their partners on dating apps, it's just they've been conditioned that that's the approach. And I think it's also a pride thing if the person or the business that you've inquired with is out of your budget. Like, that's a pride thing to have to email back and say, like, that's too expensive or out of my budget.
Yeah,
like that's you never want to. That's not nice to feeling. So I can understand in some respects, but I also do think from what we've had with conversations is vendors would much rather just be told and like a reason than just to
be ghosted.
Because then I think if you've got a tangible reason, whether it's like I've changed my date or the budget or whatever, a wedding vendor can take that information and digest it and potentially connect it with other replies and maybe start to see a pattern, so that there is a common theme that they could maybe address or whatever, that they can. But when they're just being ghosted and they've got no information as to why, whether it's price or whatever, they've got nothing to work off besides...
Maybe it's in your inquiry stating what is your price range. Or
a lot of people do that though. Like, a lot of people are transparent with price.
Yeah, but I think that if you haven't thought of that, maybe that's a simple answer of putting your pricing out there. Prices start from X, and getting them when they inquire to say what their price range is. It's just maybe a thing that they haven't thought about before.
Yeah. Do I need a blog if I'm already posting on social media?
My answer to this is yes. I think that not the traditional blog, but pieces of content that can go on your website that help SEO, I think is extremely important. I think that it funnels back, it helps AI searches, it helps your Google. I think that gone of the days of needing to post twice a week on a blog about something. I think if you've got an incredible wedding, if you've got behind the scenes of your atelier or boutique, or maybe profiling a stylist or whoever it is, that pieces of content have more longevity and like evergreen content, I think is excellent to have on a blog.
Well,
maybe not calling it a blog.
Well, I guess it's just your appetite in terms of where you want to show up in your marketing, and does that relate? So if you are creating content, like for example, with our podcast, we have a blog that goes out. That is the information and the discussion points and stuff that we talk about on this podcast. But we obviously have the first medium being it. I think it is very important from an AI, search engine, SEO perspective.
Yeah.
And it was really important, say 10 years ago, and then I think with the rise of social media that took prevalence.
Yeah.
And I think it's now returning back to longer form pieces of content, more written pieces of content.
Yeah.
So if the opportunity is there and you think that that's valuable visibility to layer into your marketing, in addition to the other things that you're doing, I would definitely prioritize longer form written content.
Agreed.
And that could be anything. I know we talked to one wedding photographer years ago, and they were talking about a blog post that was done where they were talking about their top 10 Sydney venues that they liked to photograph at. And consistently that was for people that were typing in wedding venue Sydney into Google at the time, that post was coming up all the time. So I could see the similarities now with AI. If you are producing content that connects with those kind of broader questions that people are asking either of AI or Google, that would be a good indicator for you to show up.
Yeah, I agree.
Do I need a welcome email sequence?
I think yes, but pending on what your particular business is.
So,
would you agree with that?
I think if you have the time and energy up front and you can create a welcome series that is relatively evergreen, which basically means that it's not trend-based, it's not going to become outdated. The information that you're giving in there in a sequence is, if you set it up now, it would still be relevant in 6 months or a year time, I think is very valuable.
Yeah.
And again, it is a way of doing the work up front and then setting it up to run on autopilot, so you're not manually responsible for all of those follow-ups past the initial inquiry.
Yep.
So again, if you are a makeup artist, I could think of a couple of different things that you could set up in terms of how long you should lead, what do you need to do with skin prep, what are the products that they use, or what is my process, or why do I only allocate, say I'll do this many, like FAQs, I should basically say. The same with wedding venues or photographers, like talking about your experience, but also highlighting, say, past couples' testimonials or highlighting an amazing wedding that you did. I think there's an opportunity that you could create a piece of like a sequence and have it go out, and that just basically works in your favor in terms of showing up to people while they are still in that inquiry research phase. And again, it doesn't have to be a massive long essay. Short, sweet, one focus point, one show up. Don't information overload them. Show up in their inbox.
Okay, the last question, which I feel like is a juicy one.
Tell me.
I have been in my business for a few years and I feel like I've outgrown my brand. How do I evolve it without losing momentum? This is such a layered question. And actually,
do we want to go woo first?
I feel like there's no solid answer, but it is something that I have had conversation on conversation with. And I think that to put a long answer in a short version, I think it is a slow approach. You need to do it strategically. I think that it is not going to be an overnight, being able to kind of an overnight switch. I think that it needs to be kind of small snippets to warm your audience to the new change that you have, so you're not scaring off like your loyal clients or existing clients. I think that there's ways to evolve your brand slowly without losing that big momentum that you have.
So I agree with all the things that you said. When I was looking at like how to answer this question, I guess my approach is a little bit different and taken from my perspective as a business owner. And, you know, we've been full-time now for 7 years. 7 years on the 1st of July.
God.
That's exciting. Anyways, go us. But I think it's only natural like over the years at different points, you will want to evolve.
I mean, we want to evolve. We've just launched our branding. Like, that is a perfect example. We didn't want to lose momentum, but we wanted to evolve and showcase a new side of EC.
Yeah. And I think that comes from experience and knowing exactly what you want to do and niching down on maybe like one particular service or one particular thing and getting more confident in that as well is a natural kind of progression. But as well, when it comes to like, I've been in my business for a few years and I feel like I've outgrown my brand, I think taking some time to actually think about what you've outgrown and what you do and don't want to do anymore, and how does that relate to the business that you want to build going forward. That may be a branding thing.
Yep.
It may be a service offering thing. You know, maybe like example for you, maybe you've had a few kids, like you started your business and now you're a mum, a young, you know, mum to young kids. And so the way that your business works or the way that you show up or the way that you want to work needs to change. So that's the catalyst of your decision.
Absolutely.
But I think taking the time and sitting with that first is going to give you an insight into then how you start to maneuver your business.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually like the best thing about what we do, and that we're business owners, is that we're not stuck on one path. We can change direction or maneuver it and create a life around it that works as
we evolve.
You evolve, whether that be personally or through your business.
I love it.
So, I mean, look, I could talk about that all day, but I think doing that first, and look, you might lose momentum for a little bit, and that's okay. Like, you might want to take some time to internally figure it out. And I also think it's a good thing that you do take some time to figure out either like what you want or what your client is or what your offering is, so that you can then figure out a plan and a strategy of how you're going to execute that. Is that a brand? Is that a complete update or rework of your services? Is it a new offering that you're doing?
So true.
Is it how you set up your working environment? Do you maybe need to start hiring people? Like, does that part of the process that you maybe haven't entertained before? And then go from there. So, but it's always evolving. And I think it's being brave enough to look at what you want
and making
first.
that decision. How it impacts you as the business owner.
Totally.
Well, I love the Q&As. I feel like we should keep them going because they're really insightful, and it's actually like real conversations that we're having with, you know, everyone every day.
Yeah.
So I think that these are really fun, but we hope you enjoyed it.
I loved that last question.
Yeah, that was a good one. Perfect.
We'll chat to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.